You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Battista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So, if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your, stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Mahwish Syed. Heal chaos and overwhelm. How to declutter every part of your life.
Welcome to Life Check Yourself. I'm super glad that you're here. We are going to make it happen today, and I'm really excited. I got the invitation to chat with you. And I know that you have a book coming out called How Cancer Helped Me Design an Authentic Life. Wow. And I was just fascinated with how you were able to take this tragedy and turn it into this opportunity to change your life. So I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be a great show. So ladies and those random guys that are listening, Mahwish Syed is an award-winning fashion designer. She's an interior designer. She's an author. She's a cancer survivor. She's a devoted mother. And her creations have adorned bodies and homes for over 2 decades. Although if you're watching this on YouTube, you're like, how can that be? She looks so young. And she creates spaces that nurture and heal. And she's been in the New York Times, Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, Hamptons, Cottages and Gardens. And her book, which I mentioned, Purgatory to Paradise, really shares her triumphant cancer journey and showing how design became her healing sanctuary. So I'm super excited that you're here. Well, first, I was just your bio talks about how you're going through cancer, you get this diagnosis, and you're also in this relationship with a narcissist. And so the question I was just like wanting to ask you straight up was like, did you know this person that you were with was a narcissist before, or how did this all unfold?
Oh my God, Marni, way to dive right in. I didn't even know the word narcissism until after the relationship was over and I was trying to make sense of what was going on. And so it's so interesting to me. And by the way, I don't know if you know this statistic, but men are 7 times more likely to leave their partners than women are. Their partners who are going through cancer. It has been documented. There's several studies. There were studies done in 2009 and others, 6 to 7 times more likely for men to do it than for women to.
That's crazy. So wait, and I did dive just right in. So you're with this person. Were you married?
No. This was, thank God, not marriage. I was divorced and, committed to someone. And basically it's a very interesting thing. The covert narcissism and the persona and the mask was so well perfected that it was actually during cancer, Marni, that I began to see the cracks even more. And the reason how I was able to see those cracks was because I was no longer useful. Because I had to take care of myself. I had to pay attention to my own needs. So, and also I didn't realize how superficial my ex was because, I'm a maker of beauty, whether it's fashion, whether it's jewelry or interiors. And, I went through serious allopathic care. So surgeries, radiation, chemo, you name it. Okay. I did the cold cap. And for your audience who doesn't know what that is even worse than the chemo. That's to vasoconstrict the blood vessels in your scalp. I wore 21 cold caps at negative 38 degrees centigrade for 12 hours So that way I wouldn't lose my hair. And I had my hands and feet in ice for the peripheral neuropathy. I had bone pain. I had steroids. My faces was swollen. I had, you name it, everything. And so the idea of me being, this goddess on the inside who's going through this process, you would think just because the outside doesn't match who I really am on the inside, that would, it would show up, right? So in words of like, I love you and you're beautiful are one thing, they're only on the surface, but you show up for that person when they need you the most, when they're going through such amazing transformation. And so, yeah, I didn't look like this. This took time to get back on track, which is now my life's mission, Marni, is to help other women align with their healing beauty. And I mean in such a profound spiritual way and also on a pragmatic way, because I went back to school, I got my certification in applied quantum biology, and now I create interiors and I study materials from a circadian perspective. And to really bring out your beauty from the inside out, that is actually so healing for me.
Oh my, okay. There's so much to, as they say, so much to unpack there. Hold on. We got to turn on a light here. So we'll have to edit that. There we go. So you're with this person, and you are in this space where you know that what you thought the foundation of the relationship was, hold on, something's going on with this light. We have a new studio, so it's like, okay, are you going to work? So you're in this relationship and you can't deliver, you can't be there, you can't take care of, and you start to realize that this person isn't in it at the same level that you're in it. Like, what was that like internally? Because I think a lot of listeners, whether they're going through something like cancer or loss of a parent, or they're having struggles with children, adult children, younger children. And a lot of what this person says, for better or worse, whether they're married or not, it starts to crack. So like, what did you do? Was it like an instant, or did you still feel like, let me give you a chance, do not understand? Like, what was that like for you, like building up your knowing that this wasn't working?
Thank you. I wrote this in my book. Look, I come from the East. I was born in Pakistan. I have a very strong Eastern work ethic of devotion and loyalty, honor, right? Then combine that with my Western, paradigm of being Wonder Woman, which I have completely divorced myself from that. The Wonder Woman syndrome sucks for women. It sucks for women. It's basically a way to extract even more juice out of me. Why? By, complimenting, saying, oh, look at you. You're such a superwoman. You're such a Wonder Woman. Look at how much you do. Look at how much you do. And I think that we ascribe to this, we want to please. Our whole self-identity as women, Marni, is about how much we give to others.
Right,
how much we take care. And so for me, oh my gosh, I didn't stop working. I'm a single mom. I never stopped working during cancer treatment. I never had a GoFundMe. As a matter of fact, I was so private. The book came, a couple years after. I was so private. I didn't tell people that I was working with my clients that I had cancer. I mean, there was one meeting I went to. I couldn't carry carpet samples to. I was doing a renovation for 5 townhouses in Chelsea, and I was exhausted, and I didn't tell the people that I was bandaged up. I didn't tell anybody anything. And here I am marching into this meeting with the board president and all the tenants and everything, and like trying to hold and show samples and do this. And afterwards, I had to hire a messenger to pick up the samples. So where was this guy? Where was he helping me? Like, that's like, oh yeah, I'll be there for you. I'll show up when it's convenient for me. is basically the unwritten kind of byline of that relationship was, yeah, I'm there for you. I'm there for you. I'm going to be there. But that was really, what's that narcissistic kind of giving to get. Everything that was done as an act of generosity was a down payment on extracting even more later on.
Right. Wow. So was it like a swift breakup? Like, were you
No,
just like after that time, like, no, or did you still sort of try and hang on? I mean, that's a lot to be trying to fight for your life, but also still being like, what's wrong with me? Why isn't this person showing up for me?
I think, you know what? I'll be honest. I did not have the bandwidth to do the breakup during cancer treatment.
Yeah.
And that's what I write about in my book. There's a kind of a timelessness to the way I write where I kind of go backwards and forwards in time because I don't think, our stories are really that linear. So in that way, it was only until actually the day, and I call it the Angels of Amazon, because it was the day, in 2020. So my treatment started in 2019. So literally a year into finally finishing treatment, and when I was cleared of cancer, that I really got smacked in the face with this realization that this person really wasn't in it, in action, in terms of what I was about to tell you. And I have this story where it was really hot, and he had lent me his drill and his drill bits to make holes underneath the pots of my roses. He didn't offer to make the holes. He lent me drill to make the holes. And so I got cleared of cancer. Of course, he was nowhere to be. He wasn't there. I was rushing from the hospital during the pandemic, so I had to be isolated. He could have waited outside. He wasn't there. I had to go to a site meeting for another apartment. I'm rushing. I had childcare. I'm rushing back. So he calls me up. I'm trying to get a hold of him to tell him first, like, I was cleared. He wanted him to be the first one to know, and he was nowhere to be found.
Oh
and
my
so,
gosh, Mahwish.
When I finally got through after my site meeting and I'm coming back uptown, and I said, hey, where were you? Like, what's happening? And he said, well, I was in a Zoom meeting. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what today was about. Like, you knew. And he's like, wait, you want me to like cancel my Zoom meeting? I said, you can literally press pause and stop the video and mute yourself. Say, guys, I'll be back in 5 minutes. I can take a call. And he got very belligerent and got very defensive. So then later on that day, I got a call from him. He's like, can I come over? And I'm like, oh, yeah, of course you can come over. Oh, I thought, he's going to make it up to me. It's going to be great. And so he's like, I want to pick up my drill. Because my air conditioner came in a day early, and I want to get the air conditioners installed. So when he knocks on my door to my apartment, he's holding a food bag. So I thought, oh my gosh, he's bringing food. He's bringing an offering. He's bringing a gift. And he's like, oh, okay, I can't come inside. I just need to get my drill because the food's getting cold.
Wow. So that was the end. Tell me that was the end.
No, that was like the moment I got slapped in the face, and I'm like, okay, we had a huge fight about it. He tried to make it up. It was like this back and forth. And by the way, the book is about, how you are in a trauma state already when you have cancer. And we now are realizing that most cancers are epigenetic, which means they are the result of your lifestyle and your environment, Marni. And that includes your emotional state. That includes your relationships, and so many relationships that are literally emotionally toxic because you're in this loop, in this cycle with this narcissistic cycle, right? Of, hoovering and discarding and devaluing and all that, it. So that I was going through without even realizing I was in it. And so it took cycles of that, of going through this, going, oh my gosh, this person really, truly, as much as, people are afraid of death, I was actually more afraid of the death of my idea of love.
Oh,
of that, than I was of death itself. I'll be honest.
So, I think it's first of all, it's so brave that you're sharing that. And it's so amazing that you're writing about it and sharing your story, because I think that when we're struggling with with our low self-worth, when we don't have the right coping mechanisms, when we're not setting boundaries, right? All of those things, the story that we tell ourselves, right, about like what will really be lost. And it was like for you, the loss of like the idea, that this was your person. And it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense because you're fighting for your life. And I can imagine you're thinking like, well, this is going down. I want someone, I want someone by my side, or I want someone to say they loved me or knew me or whatever it is. So after this, like you finally end this relationship, and that was, I mean, talk about a bottom. I mean, that was like a double bottom. Um, how did you start to build that beauty from within? Because that was really, and by the way, I think I just love this topic because for me, my story was sort of like, I had all like my home, like, I had like the foundations of my home, my community, or my business. I thought
Yeah.
all these things were what made me who I am.
Yeah.
Right. And then you lose those things, or you decide to not have those things, and you're like, well, who am I now? So you lost, everything. What was the first step to get back to really understanding that the beauty that you'd been creating on the outside, the beauty that you were presenting, actually needed to start from knowing your beauty, living your worth on the inside?
That was always there, Marnie. I am such a big believer in the divine definition of beauty, of spiritual grace and alignment, and in the words of Bruce Lipton, that the divine intelligence of ourselves, that when we are in harmony with our lives, with ourselves, then we can be in harmony with the world. And in practical terms, I, during cancer treatment, was creating what I call my rituals of reverence, which were, and I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
When I couldn't eat my mom's fabulous Pakistani spicy chicken and rice dishes when she was cooking them for me, which was so sad. And if I could only palate just like a simple sliced banana, I kid you not, I brought down my best wedding china and my best wedding silverware that was gathering dust. I brought that silverware after the death of my marriage. I finally used it post-divorce during cancer treatment, because it's like, this is what my book is about. Not to live and hang out in purgatory, because I was in purgatory in that narcissistic relationship. I was left constantly in this fight or flight trauma state, right? And so creating my paradise started with using all my senses to ground into my body, to put rose petals on my table, to light a candle, to use my best dishes, to put the violas in my garden, pick them and put them on my plate as a garnish for my banana, because that was creating this beauty, this moment of what I could nourish my body with. And in my book, I describe how your soul and your body are one. They're not, we like to parse them out, mind, body, spirit, as if like there's, we're like living triangles. We're not. We're one beautiful marriage of spirit and body and all of these wonderful emotions that we have. And by the way, I also want to mention, I don't want to sugarcoat despair. I don't want to sugarcoat trauma. Sitting down with my shadow and being honest with myself, holding myself accountable for what I allowed in that relationship mattered. So that first step in creating that paradise from an interior design perspective, you have to declutter, right? You got to declutter. Right. So I'm literally emotionally decluttering and thinking about all these habits or conditionings and programmings that I also have to declutter out of my life and stop and recondition myself to hold to my boundaries and not people please, and to, say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to be alone than to be treated this way.
Yeah. And, I think that when people get in those pits of despair, they really get attached to this like energy of being the victim. And, you could have so easily done that. I mean, anyone who would talk to you would be like, yeah, this is your moment. Go for it. But what's really important is I hear you talking about the things that controlling the things that you can, right? And also really, and this is so important, what you said, like we are integrated whole selves, right? And yes,
Yeah,
we're spiritual beings, but the spirit it lives in a container that's in this planet, like in this lifetime, right? And so really optimizing the environmental pieces of your life to feel alive and enlivened with your senses, with your eyes, with that I'm imagining this gorgeous table with the banana cut, just on the right slice, on a very pretty plate, doing the things that you can so that you're not just be like, why bother? Like, I look like shit. I feel like shit. This guy's a piece of shit. Forget it. Um,
yeah.
so what were some of the other things that you, you did, and what can our listeners start to do to sort of like create a home environment, an oasis? One of my clients calls it her oasis,
I
to
do.
support your health, to support your healing. How can you create beauty? How do you start that process?
I say start with your living room, and I consider your coffee table as your altar. If your home is your sanctuary, it's your sacred space, then your coffee table is your altar. So you wouldn't put candy wrappers and junk mail on your altar. You would put something beautiful and meaningful on and curate objects on your coffee table. So I tend to tablescape all the time and change objects around. For example, if you have a picture of when you were, I had a picture of myself when I was 15 years old, long before boys, long before, when I was innocent and designing clothes and then sewing things and painting. And I put that girl right up front and center, Marni, because I didn't look like her anymore. My hair was falling out. I had no eyebrows. I was swollen. And I knew I had that girl in me, and I to reconnect with her. So the ritual of being able to look at that face every single day to remind you of who you truly are is really important. And I actually teach this in my courses about talismans and about how certain things in your home are imbued with meaning and can help ground you into your space. So that's like one type of talisman. Another could be like a beautiful piece of ceramic you picked up in Sicily or something. Like whatever it is that you went to, a special trip, or your grandma's scarf. And by the way, think of your sofa as your little black dress. We tend to think about having everything be so permanent. And while I was going through chemo, it was, I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So they said to have like silk pillows for, to try to have less friction on my hair. So what I did was I shopped my closet. I went in and got, because I'm a scarf collector. I have scarves from when I was like, a
I
teenager.
love that.
So I would take like pure silk scarves and wrap my throw pillows on my sofa with the scarves, because you don't even need to buy a new pillow cover. You can just literally wrap your pillow with that scarf from your closet and then play around with color, because color has a very amazing vibration. And, there's all these studies that are done, why they have red in dining rooms and why blue is calming and why green is, biophilic and, brings you back into your parasympathetic state. So I would actually emphasize also that inner child work, connecting with your inner child. And I do this with my clients too. Like, what did you love when you were 6, Marni? Like, do you still have like that turquoise fetish? Like, what was that color that, before anyone told you, oh, that's out of fashion or that's not 2024 anymore. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody is so scared. I have clients who play it safe. And it's funny because I literally offer, door number 1, door number 2, and door number 3.
Right.
In terms of like, okay, here's really out there. Here's like super safe. let's figure out something that has a bit of what you really want, but like in a way that you can handle, or, the way we deal with our kids. Do you want carrot sticks or do you want sliced apples? So it's much in the same way. I think it's important to just really simplify things. Start with your living room, start with your coffee table, your altar, and start curating and pulling things from other rooms and place it there. And 1 week, change it out. It doesn't have to even be seasonal. It can be literally what your mood desires.
It's you're making me think like when I had this ski accident in 2020, and I was in bed for 3 months, and people obviously send flowers, right? Which sounds so trite, but what I'm thinking now is like, well, actually, that's really important because you're creating, you're bringing color, you're bringing life, right? Like, and we don't have to wait, from what you're saying, for someone to like send us flowers, right? But wherever we are doing our healing, or we're holding up, or whatever it is, we can use that as an opportunity to create some joy from being in the space that we're in. Let's talk about clutter, and kind of like the old way is, there you are, you're feeling really crappy, you're wearing big sweatpants, there's boxes of tissue. I'm recalling my own old days of heartache and heartbreak. And so when you think about like, how can this, because I know you're doing a lot of work with healthcare practitioners, and how is this work that you're doing starting to impact the lives of other people through the people who are taking care of them?
Oh my gosh, so much. And I think so many, whether you're a healthcare practitioner in allopathic or naturopathic, your environment matters.
Right.
And it, we can talk even about the neuroaesthetics of it, which is a big hot design word. The fact that your environment and beauty affects your nervous system and your patient's nervous system. And by the way, like there are studies done also amongst oncologists who need art in their space. It's not just, about the patients. It's the doctors who are hanging out dealing with patients every single day who need to have a place that is their peace, that is their oasis. And biophilia is one of the best ways to bring that peace in, which is plants and anything to do with nature. There was a study done where they took a painting of a sunflower field, a photograph of a sunflower field, and then a Jackson Pollock painting. And they tested this out with hospital patients, and they realized that the recovery rates increased 30% in rooms that had just a picture of a sunflower field. So, and sorry, Jackson Pollock, that just abstract art did not work. Basically, and here's why, Marni, our biology is ancient. And this is why I love the quantum biology side of my work. For the entire existence, our human existence on this planet, if I were to distill it down to a 24-hour clock, only in the last 30 seconds have we had electricity. So that means for the entire 23 plus hours of our existence on this planet, we have been aligned with the seasons, we have been aligned with the sun, and we have been aligned with nature. We spent 90% of our time outdoors, and now that's totally flipped, where we're spending 90% of our time indoors, and that's toxic. That's actually toxic for our biology. So my way is to be able to, I do multi-million-dollar renovations. My protocols for doctors is that through design and easy protocols and fixes and decorative fixes, you can save yourself so much money and really transform your space using all of this science that is totally backed up and to help you elevate your experience as well.
So even if you live in an apartment in the middle of Manhattan, creating, right, like you, right, plants, what else can you do to create that space, that inside space to be more spacious, to be more healing, to be more green?
The other part I really want to mention is so important, and this links up to circadian health, is to get as much natural daylight into your space as
Okay.
possible. So, either have your desk facing a window instead of having your back to it would be really important. Sunlight is not polarized. So the simple act of even just opening your window, because a lot of the windows, modern windows, are laminated to block certain part of the UV rays, which are actually what we need. So it's like what's good for the plants is good for you. If your plant can survive, then it's a good thing to measure that you can. And by the way, we have photoreceptors not just in our eyes, but all over our skin. So even the idea of like, oh yeah, I wear blue blocking glasses at night. Well, guess what? Your chest is being bathed in blue light. And there's now studies done with the association of the wrong light at the wrong time with breast cancer. So this is really important to understand and to implement. So number one, obviously, declutter the junk light out of your
Right.
life, right? Declutter the junk sound out of your life, which means this is really interesting. We love the sound of nature. So whether that's rainfall, whether that's the ocean, whether that's birds chirping. And by the way, when we hear birds chirping, it calms our brain waves down, because for thousands of years, a safe environment was when the birds were chirping. When there was a predator around, they would shut up.
Oh
They
my
would go.
gosh. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Wow.
So we're linked to this. So even if it means like, playing classical music or playing sounds from nature, it's really important to add in that layer like a symphony conductor, using all your senses. And color is so important. The other thing I want to mention is lighting. And I don't know if you know this, this is super new science. So, everybody does. I see those. My pet peeve as a designer in general is seeing that lone dome in a sea of ceiling, this one little kind of lonely light
Yeah.
fixture, right? Overhead lights suck. They're terrible. So if you're going to do overhead light, do a beautiful dangly chandelier, like make it like you're bling your earrings. But at night, it's really important to use light that is at eye level or lower. Because if you think about, again, take your cues from the sun. At 7 o'clock at night, is the sun up here
No,
above
it's
your head?
going down.
Right. So that overhead light fixture tricks your body into thinking it's high noon, right? So yeah, the location
Wow.
of light in relation to your body matters. So at night, please turn off that overhead light fixture. Let that not be the only one. Table lamps, standing lamps, sconces are great, and ambient light. And by the way, firelight is the only other natural source of infrared light other than the sun. We are programmed to be soothed by candlelight, to be soothed by the light of a fireplace, that fire
Love it.
pit, So again, bring that in. And by the way, I have a gift for your listeners too. If you want to go to claimyourparadise.com/podcast, you will get my top 3 things you can implement today to create your paradise. And I have my recommendations for that too.
I love that. It's funny. So my daughter lives in Manhattan, and she's helping her cousin sort of decorate her place. And they just decided to put all these different layer candles in the fireplace because they're obviously not going to be making fire.
Yeah.
And so my niece, her cousin, is like, oh my God, I sit here and I light these candles and I just feel so peaceful, right? And that's what you're talking about. It's not an accident.
It's not an accident. And by the way, I have like a vampire hunter, I have a candelabra, and I lit all these candles one night, and I was reading my book by candlelight. And Marni, I swear to God, I was falling asleep by 9 o'clock, and I'm like, of course I don't recommend falling asleep with a candle on, but I will have to say it really helped me to relax and fall asleep. Whereas I don't get sleepy if I'm like, if you're on your phone, you're watching something, it's hard to turn off. And it's that blue light that's sending the signal that it's high noon, and it's not. And that's screwing everything up.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. The other thing I'm thinking, I'm going, yes, because I ride my bike to the gym a few times a week. And every time I get on that bike, I have this natural urge. I want to put my ear pods in and I want to like listen to music or call someone. And part of my brain is like, no, that's not safe. And so I don't do it. I don't do it. And the other day I was riding back and I was like, wow, if I had those ear pods in, I wouldn't be hearing the birds. I wouldn't be hearing the little river. I wouldn't be hearing kind of like the playful noise of kids playing in the park, you know? And so what you're kind of validating
Yeah.
my decisions to like just be present and take advantage of that outside time. And, you know, I live in where it's cold in the winter. And so like really make sure that we're taking the time to listen and hear it. And if you don't have it at your access, to create it using Spotify or some other sort of places where you can hear sounds of nature.
Yeah. And by the way, you know, I teach workshops with cancer survivors. It's really important for me to share and not gatekeep whatever it is that I'm learning. And when you ask me, like, what got me out, helping other women who are also going through that process helped me so much. It gave me so much back in soul satisfaction to be able to help one woman. Like, when I was going through chemo, I also talk about scent, and whether, you know, you can handle scent or not, but I love, you know, essential oils and things like that. So I would sprinkle lavender on the corners of my scarf. And by the way, I dressed up to go to chemo. I dressed up to the hospital. You know, I had my outfits laid out. So I would put the lavender essential oil on the corner of my scarf because I could at least smell it. And of course I turned the overhead lights off, the fluorescent lights, which, by the way, they use in horror movies. That green tone is supposed to elicit that kind of icky feeling for a reason. So it's so interesting how these simple things matter. And I love the fact that you said that your daughter's using candlelight, because, again, you can even sprinkle just, of course, non-paraffin. I also sprinkle essential oils into the wax sometimes if it's unscented, to bring out the scent of the essential
You have
oil.
so many amazing suggestions, whether you're going through something challenging or you want to actually optimize your healing and your body systems. Is all so good. So ladies, you want to make sure you check out the show notes for our free gift. It's what's your link?
It's claimyourparadise.com/podcast.
I love that. Amazing. And you all definitely make sure you get this book. It's on Amazon. The link to the book, Purgatory to Paradise, will also be on the show notes. You can follow Mahwish at Instagram and all of those things. So make sure that you click on the show notes and get your freebies, because look, there's a lot of chaos in this world, right? There's a lot of things you cannot change. But the one thing you can always do is you can life check yourself, and you can take responsibility and have agency to set your life up to have an optimal physical, emotional, spiritual, mental experience. We only get one life. I'm so grateful to have you on the show and so inspired by your story and how you took your tragedy and turned it into this ripple effect to help so many people who are suffering. So thank you again for being on the show.
So lovely to be with you, Marni. Thank you so much.
Oh, mwah. Ladies, whatever you do, well, you can follow me first at Marni Battista _. I heard someone say something really great the other day, and they're like, we don't take cash for this show. Of course, we would never charge you or gatekeep you, but we'd love it if you pay us with follows and shares and subscriptions.
Yeah.
Woo! I love that. I'm like, let's say that all day long. Share it with a friend. If you know someone who's suffering, who's healing, bring her a candle, a sexy scarf, and download this podcast and tell her she's got it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Mwah. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for tuning into today's show. Do you ever wake up feeling like you've already run a marathon before the day even begins? Does your coffee need a coffee just to get through the morning? Well, I feel you, and I've been there. Burnout isn't just a buzzword. It's a reality for far too many of us, especially as we navigate life over 40. But here's the good news. You don't have to accept feeling perpetually drained as your new normal. I'm excited to introduce my new flagship, Live Life on Your Terms program. This isn't just another Band-Aid fix or a fluffy self-care promise. This is about real transformation. We're diving deep to tackle the root cause of your burnout, regulate your nervous system, lower your cortisol and adrenaline, and rewire your neural pathways to transform how you feel in your life from the inside out. Imagine this, waking up energized, not by caffeine, but by excitement and passion for the day ahead. Picture yourself managing stress with grace and finding joy in moments big and small. That's not just a dream or a someday. It's within your reach now. So, if you like what you've heard and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working together, here's what I want you to do next. Email me at vip@datingwithdignity.com. Don't wait for one day. Make today your day one so we can create your next chapter. I'm Marni, and I'll talk to you soon.